and welcome to my book nook.
We are monsters. We give and we take.
For those that are new around here, the name's Rainy. I read all different types of books from all different types of genres, so if you're interested in that, please like and subscribe to my channel down below. It really helps my channel grow. This video is a very exciting video as I am finally, for the first time, going to be participating in our fantasy bingo, which is a bingo challenge that is hosted from April 1st to March 31st of every year, and it's on Reddit, and I found out about it really late into last year, so I didn't participate because I wouldn't have been able to do it. But this year, I was prepared, I was ready, I set an alarm. And so basically it has, you know, a typical bingo board, and I'll show the board here really quick, but it has all different types of things, and you can do it any way you want, whether you just want to do one line across or you want to black out the whole board, which is what I plan on doing. I also have an easy mode and a hard mode, so of course I'm going hard mode because I'm a very competitive person by nature, and so that makes each prompt just a little bit more challenging. I did, of course, get inspiration from this from Cassidy, Covers with Cassidy, because she does it every year, which I'll link her video underneath here, because she also gives some recommendations, and so I'm just going to be doing this as explaining each prompt and kind of giving some hopefuls that I would like to get to for each one. Although some of them are not going to give hopefuls because I just know that's the book that's going to go for that. But other ones, it's like, I don't know, like I could change my mind. Also, these might not all be exactly set in stone. You might find out at the end of next year that, or the end of this challenge, that I changed a lot of the books, but the goal is to hit them all. I want to black out the board. So with that, let's just go through all of these prompts from top to bottom and tell you what I'm planning on reading. So let's start with the first one is first in a series. And so you're supposed to read the first book in a series, but the hard mode edition of that is the series has to be more than 3 books long, so longer than a trilogy. And I automatically knew which book I was doing for that because I started this on April 1st, and it is a 4-book trilogy. And that is A Fate of Wrath and Flame by K.A. Tucker. And I'm actually already 130 pages into this. I am behind my buddy read with my friend Katie. I'm obsessed with this. It had witches. I didn't know that. The plot is just moving at a pace that I'm loving. I'm live, laugh, loving. I'm not going to really explain to you what this book is about because the back honestly doesn't explain to you what this book is about. And honestly, we don't have time for me to explain books in this vlog or in this sit down video. I am reading this one for that, and I'm very, very excited because I'm having the best time with it already. The next one is for an alliterative title, so you need to read a book where multiple words in the title begin with the same letters. So for example, they gave like Legends and Lattes or something. And of course, hard mode is the title has to have 3 words or more that start with the same letter. And so a lot of people were recommending Lies of Locke Lamora, which I've never read before, and I have been interested in that, so that is a possibility. However, there was one that jumped out to me automatically that I've always been interested in reading, and I do have it on my shelves, and I don't know when else I'm going to read it, honestly, if not for that. And that is Una Out of Order by Margarita Montemor. And so this one, I'm pretty sure, is about a girl that, like, on her 19th birthday, she faints and she wakes up in her 51-year-old body, and then after that, like, she keeps jumping around years to years, like, different parts of her life, and she's, like, living her life out of order, as it says. And so I'm very interested in that because I'm sure she's going to get a lot of life lessons and stuff out of this. So that'll be my book, hopefully, for alliterative title. That one was a tricky one. The next one we have is Under the Surface. And so you have to read a book where an important setting is either underground or underwater. And of course, the hard mode edition of this is at least half of the book has to take place underground or underwater. I have 2 books on here that I'm possibly interested in. One is From Below by Darcy Coates because I would like to actually read a Darcy Coates book. And so this one has always been intriguing to me. And so maybe that one. But then the one I'm most likely is going to read is Along the Razor's Edge by Rob Hayes because I know that Covers with Cassidy has recommended this a million times. Melanie Reads has recommended this a million times. They said that a lot of it takes place underground. And so honestly, that's all you really need to sell me on it. So it's probably going to be that one. The next one is Criminals. And so you need to read a book in which the main character is a criminal. It could be a thief, an assassin, someone that commits fraud. But of course, the hard mode is it features a heist. And I specifically knew which book I was going to do. Thanks Jan Agaton for saying that this book had a heist. But I already had thought of this book immediately and was hoping that it had a heist in it. And so when it did, I was very excited. And that is A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faisal. This is a very late edition, obviously. It's stunning. But I'm very excited to read this. I've been wanting to read this since it came out. However, it is a cozy fantasy, so it's kind of like playing Risk, if you will, because I'm not a like cozy fantasy girly, but like I just want to love this. So I am very excited that I finally have a reason to also prioritize this as well. And the next one is for dreams, and so you need to read a book where characters experience dreams, magical or otherwise, and the hard mode edition of this is that the dream cannot be mystical or unusual. It just has to be a normal dream or a nightmare, and I honestly didn't know what I was going to pick for this, so thank goodness there is a recommendations section for every prompt available to me. I can't find either of the books that I was talking about, but people had said that Red Rising was a possibility for this, and I have always been intrigued, and I've soft DNF'd it 2 times just because it wasn't the right time for me to be reading it. But the one that is probably going to be it, because I know that I'm reading it this month, is A Court of Mist and Fury by SJM. I didn't know that she has nightmarish dreams in this, and so that is just the perfect thing for this, I think, honestly. And so that one worked out really well. Then the next one that we have is entitled Animals, and so you have to read a book that has an animal in the title. The animal in the title doesn't actually have to appear in the story. However, the hard mode for this is that the animal in the title has to be a fantasy or a sci-fi creature, so like, you know, a unicorn, a dragon, and stuff like that. And so of course I picked a dragon book, and so I have 2 actually. One I had not heard of before, but it was on my Kindle for Stuff Your Kindle Day, but the other one is probably the one I'm going to go with. The first one is Bound by Dragons. It's some, you know, Kindle Unlimited Romantasy. But the one that I'm probably going to read for this is The Tea Dragon Society, which is this cute little graphic novel type book, because I've always wanted to read those, and so like this is the perfect time to do that. It's dragons and tea, like what more could you want, honestly? Then the next one is to read a book in which the primary protagonist is a bard, musician, poet, or storyteller, and the hard mode is that the character is explicitly called a bard. And I automatically knew which one I was going to read for this because I read A River Enchanted for my Battle of the Girl Bands readathon, and the second book is A Fire Endless, and the main character is literally a bard, and so I need to finish the duology anyway, and the chances of me having read a book with a bard was like pretty slim to none. So that worked out. That was the first book I thought of. I can't wait to finish this duology because I had a really, really great time with book number 1. And so I'm sure that book number 2 is not going to disappoint either. So there you go. The next one is for prologues and epilogues. You need to read a book that has either a prologue or an epilogue. And so of course the hard mode is it has to have both. And so ones that I've heard of that have both is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride, which I've always been interested in reading. I've also heard that Iron Widow. Actually, I should look and see if Iron Widow has a prologue. Yep, prologue and epilogue. Yep. Okay, so I might actually read Iron Widow just because I already have this right here. But some other ones that I had considered was Bride by Ali Hazelwood, and I know Spark of the Everflame had that because it was the first book. I don't know if Glow of the Everflame would have both, but if it does, then I probably will read that one because I really, really liked Spark of the Everflame, but you never know for sure till you read it. Then we have self-published or indie publisher, which needs to be a self-published or published through an indie publisher. If a formerly self-published novel had been picked up by a publisher, then it only counts if you read it before it actually became self-published. And of course, hard mode is it has to be self-published and have fewer than 100 ratings on Goodreads. And so I automatically knew which book I was doing because we are actually reading the arc for this right now, a bunch of us from our friend Rachel. And so it is called A Dance of Mist and Fury. And I'm pretty sure it comes out at the end of April or beginning of May. It doesn't have any ratings yet. And so that's a super easy one to help support my friend. I'm currently reading it, having a good time. So that is the one that I'm probably gonna do for this prompt. The next one is going to be Romantasy. Read a book that features romance as a main plot. And the hard mode is that the main character is LGBTQIA+. Of course, I love Romantasy. That was not going to be a hard one. But the LGBTQ one has been a little tricky because I feel like we are lacking in diversity in this area. And so I had to go to like the people for recommendations for this. And the only ones that I found is Small Miracles by Olivia Atwater, which I have been interested in. A Taste of Golden Iron, which I've also been interested in, and my Barnes & Noble currently has it. However, someone said recently that Feybound works for this prompt, and so if Feybound works, then I'm just going to read Feybound because I own it and because I really want to read this. So hopefully that is accurate and I can keep that one for the prompt. The next one is Dark Academia, and so you need to read a book that fits the dark academia aesthetic, you know, a school, university, secret society, all of that stuff. The hard mode, though, is that the school itself has to be entirely mundane, so nothing magical about it. So there were a couple that I've been very interested in, like Ninth House, Blood Over Bright Haven. Well, I have Miss Ma'am with me now because she's not feeling good and it's my turn to watch her, so she's going to film the rest of this little clip with me. The other two that I had thought of was An Education in Malice because I do want to read that soon, and so it could be that. But most likely the one that I'm going to choose, because I know I'm reading this in April with Julie from Keep Calm with Books and Coffee, is The Raven Boys, which I've been very excited to read about. I've owned this for forever and just had not really found an excuse to read it, and now I finally do. So good job for me. Then the next one is Multi-POV, and so you need a book with at least 3 point of view characters. However, hard mode is at least 5 points of view. And I have been told that these 2 books have 5 points of view. And so I'm probably going to pick the first one, but I have 2 options. The first would finally be to finish the Greenbone Saga series and finish Jade Legacy, and I'm pretty sure I do know that it has a bunch of different perspectives in this. I just don't know if I'm ready to have my heart broken yet, but you know, I kind of feel like I need to finish it. And then the other one would be The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake, and I'm pretty sure that has 6 perspectives, and so I do also want to read that, but if we're going to pick one between the 2, it would be Jade Legacy. This one is published in 2024, and so it needs to be a book published for the first time in 2024. And hard mode is that it's also the author's first published novel. And let me tell you, that was hard. Actually, just got it from Illumicrate because I forgot to cancel, and so I ended up getting it. And that is Fathom Folk by Eliza Chan, which I'm not too sad that I didn't cancel because this is like beautiful. But yeah, this one also would have worked for the underwater setting apparently. This is a book about a siren and Chinese culture, and I'm very excited to finally have an excuse to also put this on. But like, this alone is like beautiful. The next one is Character with a Disability, and so you need to read a book in which an important character has a physical or mental disability. And so hard mode would be just that a main character, that a main character has a physical or mental disability. And so there are a couple that I have on this list. However, there's a couple that I have on this list that I could read, like Monstrilio I've been interested in reading. I'm currently reading A Little Life, but since I started it in March, I don't know if I would use that. Apparently God Killer also has one, but the one that's going to get on it because I have to read it this month, thanks to good old mom, is Iron Flame. So that will be the one, because Violet, you know, has a chronic illness, disability. So I'm getting a lot of chunky books for this R fantasy bingo. The next one is published in the 1990s, so you need to read a book that was published in the 90s, but hard mode is that the author has also have to have published something in the last 5 years. And I have been told that this is acceptable. Robin Hobb has written short story collections within the last 5 years, and I really want to read The Assassin's Apprentice, which is the beginning of like her fated trilogy, you know, Farseer trilogy with our friend Fitz. And I tried reading this last year, and I just don't think it was the right time. So I want to try again, and I'm going to accept that the short stories are accepted, and so that is what I'm going to read so that I can read The Assassin's Apprentice. The next one is Orcs, Trolls, and Goblins Oh My, and you need to read a book featuring orcs, trolls, or goblins, and the hard mode is as a main character. And I don't 100% have an answer for this. In fact, I don't have anything on my TBR currently for this. So if anyone has ideas of a book that has an orc, troll, or goblin as the main character that you want to send my way, like, let a girl know. I'm sure there's some smutty Kindle book out there somewhere in the universe that I just need to discover. Next one is space opera, and so I need to read a sci-fi book that features a large cast of characters and has a focus on social dynamics, which may be political or personal in nature, primarily in space or on spaceships. And hard mode is that it needs to be written by an author of marginalized gender identity, like women, trans people, non-binary. And that is the other one that I don't have any ideas for. And all the ones that I saw on the recommended list I had never heard of, and I didn't really have interest in reading. So I'm sure there is one out there that I'm just not thinking of. Does Dead Silence work for that? No, because I don't think S.A. Barnes is marginalized. I don't actually know. Yeah, that's another one that I need an option for. So if you have something out there in the great abyss for me, let a girl know, right? Let a girl know. We have author of color, and so I need to read a book by an author of color, but hard mode is it has to be a debut novel published in the last 5 years. And so there were a couple. I had looked into We Hunt the Flame, The Bone Shard Daughter, The Stardust Thief, but I'm pretty sure the one I'm going to do is either between He Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan or Legendborn by Tracy Dion. I don't know when else I will read this book, and I've owned this book and the sequel since they came out, and I feel like it's time to read them. Right, baby girl? Right. And we have survival, and so you need to read a book in which the primary goal of the characters and story focuses on survival, but it can't be, hard mode is it can't have a super virus or a pandemic, and so that made it a little trickier because I was like, oh, I can finally read Emily St. John Mandel, but no. And there were actually a bunch of these, but the one that I'm going to read, because you're allowed one reread, and because it was the most obvious choice, is Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent, because she's trying to survive the Kajari trials. So anyway, I need to reread it because I need to reread I need to read Ashes in the Sun to get ready for the third book, so like this is the obvious choice. Then we have Judge a Book by its cover, and I need to choose a book because I like its cover, but the hard mode is I have to pick the book based only on the info available on the cover. I can't read the blurb. And that could be honestly anything. I mean, I feel like there's so many books that I buy having a vague understanding of what they're about. And honestly, I'm just going to go to the store one day and pick a book based off its cover. That's what I did with Other People's Clothes. I knew nothing about that book, and it's one of my favorite books of all time. So I think that does well for me. So I don't actually have a book picked out for this prompt. Then we have Set in a Small Town, and so the primary setting has to be a small town, but the hard mode is that the small town can be real or fictional, but the broader setting has to be our real world and not a secondary world. And so I'm pretty sure that Powerless and Hopeless, like the Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver, works, and those are the books that I still need to read. However, other ones that I've heard that work are Starling House by Alex E. Harrow, The Sword of Kaigan by M.L. Wang, which I've really wanted to read. But the one that I'm going to choose, because I have to read it this month for a secret video, Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. And since I already have to read that, like, that's going to be the one. But those are all fabulous options as well. Then the next one is 5 SFF short stories. Basically any 5 short stories or novelettes, and the hard mode is to read an entire speculative anthology or collection. And so I'm probably just going to read, because I currently have it on my shelves, Out There Screaming by Jordan Peele, because it's an anthology of new black horror. But I did also consider Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado, because I've always wanted to read that, but I'll probably just read Out There Screaming for that one, if we're being honest. We have Eldritch Creature, and I need to read a book featuring a being that is uncanny, unearthly, and weird. Hard mode is this cannot be related to the Cthulhu mythos. No idea what that means. But I was told that Along the Razor's Edge works, and the one that I'm going to read, though, because I need to read this, and I'm glad that this fits this prompt, is Ashes of the Sun by Django Wexler. I've been meaning to read this. I started it and then soft DNF'd it because I needed to read immersively, and I just didn't have the time for this. And I'm very glad that this apparently has an Eldritch character in it, and I can prioritize it finally. Then we have reference materials, and so I need to read a book that features additional materials such as a map, footnotes, a glossary, translation guide, all of that stuff. The hard mode is it has to contain at least 2 types of additional materials. But the one that I'm probably going to read because I bought it recently and I've really been wanting to read it and I didn't know how I was going to fit it into a vlog is The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Garrick, and this book is Chong-gi, but I'm very excited for this. This also has a con artist, so they might have a heist in this, so this could probably work for that one too. But I'm going to do this for reference materials alone. And the last one is book club or read-along book, and you basically can read any active R fantasy book club. Like, they have a bunch of different book clubs, and the hard mode would be that you have to read a current selection. And I will say that our fantasy bingo lets you change out one of the squares, only one from past years, and so I got rid of that one because I was like, they're not current. They only tell you, like, within a couple of days before the new books come out, like, what is going to be the R fantasy books, and I'm not interested in them, and I don't go on Reddit a lot, so I got rid of that one. And I switched it out with one from 2023, which was Young Adult. Read a book that was written for young adults, and the hard mode is published in the last 5 years. And so I picked The Crimson Moth, otherwise known as The Heartless Hunter by Kristen Ciccarelli, because I'm supposed to read this already for Tori's Who Did This To You book club, and reading this because I want to read it. And it came out this year, and it is a young adult book. So that's what I'm going to read for that one. And with that, those are all of my books that I'm going to read for our fantasy bingo. Let me know in the comments down below. If you got to the end of this, let's put a flower emoji because I'm looking at the Crimson Moth and it has flowers on it. And let's also let me know in the comments down below if you know an ogre, troll, or orc or goblin book that orc, troll, or goblin book that I need to read, or a space opera book that I need to read that is written by a marginalized person or author. Let me know that. But also just let me know, are you participating in our fantasy bingo? What books are you excited to, like, get to on this list? And I will link all of the stuff for our fantasy bingo underneath here in case you're interested in participating this year. Like, come join me. Let's, like, live our best natural lives, okay? And with that, I will see you guys in a video very soon. Bye!